There are videos and articles online that cover Lovecraft's actual racism, the softening of his racial views, and how it was more xenophobia than racism. Yes, there is a difference, you social justice fuckbags. This video is about how Lovecraft's critics incorrectly paint all his works as racist, when there is another, much darker source in his fiction. This topic came up on Facebook when one gentleman thought that perhaps Lovecraft suffered from a panic disorder. And one of those self-acclaimed Lovecraft experts kept saying how Lovecraft didn't contract syphilis from his parents. I agreed with him that it wasn't syphilis and tried to give the original poster an answer to his question. But the know-it-all just kept responding with syphilis information. And I'm like, what's this guy's fucking problem? We're trying to have a conversation here. Then it all became clear when he said, I literally wrote the book, and dropped an Amazon link. So I went and looked up this author's bibliography. Half his books and papers are conjecture about Lovecraft's sex life and sex in the Cthulhu mythos. Not judging. I myself am a hentai fan, but this guy really loves the tentacle dick. When you say someone has a hard-on for Lovecraft, I think this guy actually jerks off to mythos stories. Maybe he's one of those chaos magicians. They're all into wank magic right now. Masturbation rituals that charge their magic sigils. I'll bet he's got one of those creepy Dakimakura body pillows with a double-sided full image of Lovecraft on it. Oops, looks like there's a hole in the butt. Again. Anyway, fuck that guy and his fuck pillow. All right. Now, I was almost a psychologist, but Arizona State University is a shit school and wouldn't let me double major, so I ended up dropping the psychology degree. So let me tell you a little bit about Lovecraft's mind. Lovecraft was only 3 when his father became acutely psychotic and was placed in an institution. The elder Lovecraft remained there until his death 5 years later. 21 years after, his mother was committed to the same institution for hysteria and prolonged depression. She passed away 2 years later, never released. Lovecraft suffered from night terrors, which inspired the bizarre alien vistas and some of the menacing creatures in his work. As I have documented in the Astronomicon, the unholy book of the First United Church of Cthulhu, much of Lovecraft's horrific visions are identical to those experienced by people who smoke DMT, dimethyltryptamine. DMT is also produced naturally in the human body and is considered one of the chemicals that contributes to dreaming. Studies have shown that DMT levels are higher in subjects with acute psychosis, like Lovecraft's father. And if you've read anything at all about Lovecraft, you've seen the phrase, Lovecraft was a sickly child, dozens of times. I'm surprised that hasn't been used as a book title yet, but any number of mental afflictions can arise from physical maladies. And his grandparents both passed away when he was young, having said that his grandfather became the center of his universe. Sounds kind of like Azathoth, if you ask me. And his grandmother's middle name was Alzada, not to be confused with Alhazred. So let's sum up. Grandmother dies when Lovecraft is 5. Father, crazy, dies when Lovecraft is 7. Grandfather, center of his universe, dies when Lovecraft is 13. Mother, crazy, dies when Lovecraft is 30. He becomes suicidal after his mother's death. Given Lovecraft's poor physical health as a child, extreme emotional trauma suffered from multiple deaths of immediate family members at a young age, and a family history of mental illness, there is no doubt that Lovecraft suffered from some type of personality disorder. Now, Mr. Know-It-All Fuck Pillow Boy says, there's no evidence that Lovecraft had any type of mental deficiency. You stupid piece of shit. Don't know why I even bother trying to talk to people like you. Okay. Moving on to the internet journalists who like to label everything Lovecraft does as racist. They claim that every monster is really an exaggerated racial stereotype of some kind. But here's the big reveal. Ready for it? the monster is actually Lovecraft himself. Dun dun dun! Now, after the traumatic effects of the deaths of everyone close to him at an early age, and both his parents being institutionalized, and with his pessimistic and often vitriolic personality, as well as his dissatisfaction with his own work and financial failings, Lovecraft absolutely would have also doubted his own mental acuity. This was manifested in The Shadow over Innsmouth as the degenerated old fishermen who couldn't fully change, enjoying their kind in the ocean. Also, in the Dunwich Horror, Wilbur Whately, the bastard son of Yog-Sothoth, all the cultists seeking to wake Daddy Cthulhu, while it was the artists and poets who suffered maddening dreams inflicted upon them by the Great Sleeper. Lovecraft had mentioned that he considered himself more of a poet than an author. People like to slap the racism label on any of Lovecraft's works that talk about degenerate creatures, when they are actually a reflection of the fears he felt in the mental and physical health of his own family. Would he become a monster like his own father had become?